Hey, what's up everybody? This is BR, and before I start this video, I do want to announce that this channel is actually going to be my secondary channel, where I'm going to be posting these kind of ramble-like videos that are just me kind of expressing my opinions on things and talking about topics that maybe I don't have as much information about or that much, or I don't see that much substance in making an actual full-length video out of it, right? So, you know, if you enjoy this kind of content where you're just kind of listening to somebody ramble on for maybe half an hour, feel free to stick by, subscribe and check it out. This isn't really going to be a channel where I'm like doing something like Optimus or Birdman, where I'm just talking about like the latest news or whatever. This really is just going to be a place where I can express my mind on things and even be a little bit more active with my audience. As much as I would like to make a Discord server, I don't feel like it's really necessary, especially since I don't want to be the one upkeeping it all the time. It just seems like another thing to do with my huge-ass list of priorities that I have right now in my personal life and other projects. And so that is pretty much what this channel is a way to kind of just express my opinions on stuff, get your guys' opinions as well, and just keep the conversation going. Kind of like what I used to do in my old channel, but not anymore. Instead, I want to, just reserve higher quality videos on my main channel from now on, while I keep the more rambling stuff here on this one. So, feel free to leave your comments. I really want to keep the discussion going, and hopefully these kind of videos do organize that conversation a lot better than a Discord channel would, right? Because I don't want to be like handling threads and stuff and making new channels for everything. But anyways, on to the main video, right? And the topic for this video is, of course, Zesty's newest video in regards to Meet Your Match. And one of the things that I really wanted to clear my head on, right, it is just the fact that the video going through TF2's history, right? Because I started playing TF2 around 2013, which means that I had 2 good years of quick play before Meet Your Match. And let me just say it out loud, right? Those were the best years of TF2 for me. I enjoyed TF2 after Meet Your Match. It was fine, right? I met some of my best friends through Meet Your Match because of Valve Competitive, right? But I wouldn't ever call it a good time, or as good of a time as compared to those 2 years of quick play, because the vibe of TF2 within those 2 years was completely different than to what it is now. And that is the main idea that I think Zesty was trying to push out there, is that, with all these arguments talking about functionality, right? Objective functionality, what casual does, what it means for the future of TF2, how it can bring value to TF2, and how quick play is this archaic, just old system, and the server browser is archaic and it isn't useful, and all this stuff. I think it misses the main point of the frustrations of what everybody who experienced quick play went through, because a very special game did get taken away. It was just a completely different vibe and a completely different way that you engaged with TF2 back in the day, right? TF2 nowadays is a lot more akin to its competitors than before, right? It is so much more like modern games, which was the goal, right? Which was to get TF2 up to speed with all these esport games and everything with, a matchmaker, Overwatch, Apex, League of Legends, Dota, Counter-Strike, all of these games. That was the entire point, to get TF2 up to speed for, right? And so many people are saying like, well, it's to modernize it. It's to make it more appealing to everybody, right? To make it that esport game that would have sent TF2 into the stratosphere. It wasn't handled well, but it was necessary. And the rebuttal to that, and this was one of the main points of that video, was that no, it really wasn't, right? In an effort to chase trends with TF2, it took out what made TF2 unique, okay? Because a lot of people might compare TF2 to like Gary's Mod, right? Because it has the same server functionality, just like every other game, right? But the main difference is that Gary's Mod was a gameplay sandbox, right? Not a sandbox in and of itself, but the fact that you could morph Gmod into whatever you really wanted to with all these other game modes and stuff. TF2 was similar, but the reason why people went to TF2 rather than Gmod was because TF2 was already a game in and of itself, right? Sure, people did make custom servers with different game modes, but ultimately, the reason why most people played TF2 was to play the main game. That's what it was for, and that's what it was made to be, a game in and of itself with servers. And I think Shep Falasek really said it the best, And I'm surprised that that Zesty didn't use this quote, because it's a really good quote that kind of summarizes TF2 in just in this abstract, very, very small and compressed message that I think just resonates very well. Maybe he did. I'm not sure. I can't really remember. It was that quote where Chet Falasek said, TF2 is a chat room, or was a chat room with gun, right? And let me explain it to you guys in a more modern sense, right? You know Discord servers, right? You know these big Discord servers that people join and whatever. TF2 back in the day was seen as pretty much that. You came in to play the game, but the game was just kind of an excuse to get in the same way that communities in Discord are. You know, you join a community because maybe it's an art community, right? You join the art community and to draw and share your stuff, right? The gameplay loop is you draw and you post it on the chat for everybody else to look at. TF2's gameplay, 9 classes, shooting the heck out of each other. But it wasn't just that. It's not like everybody else is an anonymous user. Like if somebody was just liking your posts, like it would be with like Twitter or with Facebook or some other stuff. Instead, with Discord channels, you have all these people that you can communicate with. You have all these other channels where you could do other stuff aside from just posting your artwork. They have a general chat, they have memes, they have all this other stuff that you could do. You get in a call with someone, maybe watch a movie with somebody, maybe watch an anime with someone, whatever. I can't believe I just said an anime, right? That sounds weird, right? Anyways, that's besides the point. This was the vibe that TF2 was before Meet Your Match, in the before time, when Quick Play existed, when you had the server browser being the main form that you get into matches with TF2. That's what I think is the big idea that Zesty really wanted to like push forward. Of course, he kind of focused more on the actual functionality of it, which is entirely fine, right? It's true. It is what most people harp on when they're talking about why casual is better, right? Because it's a better system. It guarantees gameplay and stuff. And I'm sure it does. Maybe it does, right? Right? You have a more curated and more guaranteed experience with casual to some extent. You have something that's sanitized. You have something that is streamlined, whatever. But you lose that sense of community that you used to have before Meet Your Match. And that's the thing about TF2, right? It is, or it was, a chat room with guns. It was. That's how it was, used as. It wasn't this competitive game. It wasn't this streamlined game that you just hop in, hop out, and then go on with your day, right? No. Instead, you would join TF2 because of the gameplay. You'd find a community server, and then you'd stick around that community server because you loved that community that was facilitated inside of it. That was the entire point. That vibe, that way that you interacted with TF2 back in the day is what was lost, what was taken away. And you know what? I commend Zesty for this, right? I made that video talking about, don't be too hard on the people, in the community and stuff, because ultimately, it's not good. It's not good rhetoric and whatever, right? That's the kind of video that I made. People can disagree with him. Maybe we're not going hard enough. Who knows? Personally, I don't think it's really necessary to be, a dick to people, right? We're adults talking about a video game, and we can be emotional, right? We can have our passion show with the game, and we can be frustrated, and our emotions are valid and everything. But at the same time, we gotta also control ourselves and make sure that we're just not, yelling at people all the time. Anyways, there are many times in the video where Zesty, gave the competitive players the benefit of the doubt that, they weren't the ones asking for quick play to be removed. They just wanted a competitive queue system. They didn't get the competitive queue system that they wanted, and at the same time, Valve took away the quick play system that existed in order to make a pipeline for competitive, because they just really wanted esports to be that next big thing, right? And I'm grateful that Zesty gave this charitable perspective on competitive players. Ultimately, though, I think the point that the vibe of TF2 was changed dramatically and taken away, how we originally enjoyed TF2 as being taken away, is definitely what should be shouted from the rooftops rather than functionality, right? Because functionality, while it is important, and I don't disagree that quick play isn't a better option functionally, objectively, compared to casual, I personally think that the sense of community that TF2 used to have with all those micro communities and stuff, with the community servers being helped by Quick Play was the lifeblood of TF2, and it is not arguable that that was taken away. And sure, we still have community servers, they still exist, but they are not in any way sustainable. Because in order to have a community server that's active and popular and is able to be, played at any time, you need players. And that's what Quick Play helped with, which was like funnel players into servers that needed players. And with Meet Your Match, that was ultimately gone. And this is where I really want to share, like, my personal just disappointment of Meet Your Match, because it took away my homes, actually, Like, I used to play on a Death Run server. I used to play on a Versus Saxon Hail server, on a 24/7 Doomsday server. And I knew people. I donated to those servers, man. And they were my homes. I wanted to keep them. And after Meet Your Match, they sometimes stayed up, right? The more wacky of them, like the Saxon Hail servers and the Death Run servers, stayed alive for a while. But without the influx of new people looking at the server browser, without that necessity to use the server browser to look for something, to look for Valve servers, to maybe even join your friends ad hoc, to have the server browser be that main way to play TF2. Without that, all those servers whittled away. They were gone, all right? TF with friends. And I still have thousands of memories with TF with friends. And a couple of recordings of me playing on those Versus X and Hail servers died a slow, painful death. Eventually, they moved to a Discord server and, they did announcements here and there. But I honestly don't even know if they're still active anymore. Everybody probably just moved on, because how else are you going to hear about this community group unless you freaking play Versus X and Hail? And even then, well, how are you going to find out if you never look at the server browser, right? Keep in mind that TF2 is not as popular as it was before. It's just not. That player count on the Steam charts isn't real. In these modern times, TF2 at most has 25,000 players, and I'm probably being too charitable here. And most of those players aren't looking at the server browser. They don't want to deal with that. Instead, they just want to play TF2. They aren't allowing themselves to be open to it because there's no reason to. It's just a lot easier to just play main TF2, and that's why they're never going to look at the server browser. So any freaking argument that talks about, oh, well, the community servers are still there, you're just not ever going to be able to populate those servers like you did before with Quick Play and the server browser working in unison. Because if somebody wants to play something alternative, they're not going to be looking at the server browser, right? Because there's no incentive to. Instead, I think most people would rather just play a different game. And one thing that I don't think Zesty kind of talked about enough in that video is just how important impressions are, right? Just having somebody know of the existence of all these external servers is monumental in populating those servers, right? Just like how he talks about his own community server that nobody plays on 24/7. They only play when he says, hey, come join my server, come play with me. He needs to advertise it on his own when before Meet Your Match, TF2 kind of already did that on its own because the server browser was an integral part. You couldn't play TF2 without the server browser in some way. If you wanted to join your friends, well, what would your friends say? Either join them directly on Steam or, hey, go to the server tab and look at the friends list. If you were curious on what kind of server they were on, you could always just go to the server list and look at the friends tab. Or maybe look at your history to see any of the servers that you last visited. Or even check the favorites tab if you favorited that server so you could rejoin something that you already liked. After Meet Your Match, that kind of usage of the server browser became null. Nobody used it because it's not necessary to play TF2. And because of that, the inherited advertisement that TF2 gave to these servers was gone. It was killed. It was destroyed. And all these community servers slowly died. Some died immediately, obviously. I think the ones that were more vanilla TF2 died immediately. The ones that were a little bit more crazy, wacky, and already had a strong community probably stayed alive for a little while, just like the server that I used to play on, TF with Friends. And if you think that I'm a little bit worked up here, right, is because watching that video just awakened all these emotions that were repressed for the past 10 years. Because, like I said, casual at this point is okay, and it works, and also Meet Your Match was 10 years ago, so I never had to think about it for a while, because either I played other stuff, right, I played Counter-Strike, I played Apex, I played Overwatch, I played all these other games, I downloaded other games and visited those games while I was playing TF2, and I just didn't remember. But when Zesty posted his video and I listened to it on his live stream, it's almost like all these frustrations just were unearthed. Like these old wounds that didn't heal completely right were just scraped, right? Which might seem bad, right? I'm making a fucking terrible analogy here. But ultimately, it was necessary because it just made me realize that I didn't hate Meet Your Match enough because of how much it took away from me. I want people to play TF2, but it's almost sad knowing that so many new people don't understand what was taken away from them before they could even touch the game. I really wish my friends could play what TF2 used to be, right? And okay, and here's another thing, something that just popped into my mind, right? And sorry if you heard me hit my headset here. I watch, people play TF2 for the first time on YouTube all the time, and it's crazy how it is a non-zero, a non-one amount of people who play casual, right? They play casual for the first time, they play a match, right? And then they're like, oh, well, I also want to try out the competitive mode, but I'm not that level yet, so we'll probably try out the competitive mode eventually because I want to see how that's like, right? And you know how I feel? I feel like that one movie. I don't remember what it was called. Maybe is it Interstellar? I think no. Anyways, somebody's gonna correct me in the comments. I feel like that one scene where like I'm banging on the glass, watching them, Or actually, you know what? I think a better analogy would be Breaking Bad, with Walter, just under arrest in the DEA car. And he's like, Hank, no, Hank, right? Because, like, they don't know how fucked competitive is and how barren it is, right? Because I played it, all right? Hand to God, I've been playing Valve Comp since 2016, all the way up until 2019, when then I started playing External League. And God, how the fuck did I put up with that, right? I just did it because I just wanted to get Expert Assassin. Or actually, no, it would be Death Merchant. That was the highest rank. So I honestly think that, time has been a huge factor of why I haven't really thought of Meet Your Match in the way that this video was, because not only was it a wake-up call to a lot of people who have been there, but it's also a good refresher to remind us that, no, Valve kind of fucked us over, right? And especially with all the information, with all the evidence from the interviews and everything, just how intentional that fuckover was. Because ultimately, it wasn't just a fuckover to the existing player base, it was also a fuckover to anybody else who wanted to play TF2 because they would never experience the kind of game that it used to be. And it's not a debate of which one is functionally better. There is honestly just no debate whatsoever that could ever be justified because ultimately, Meet Your Match killed TF2, hands down. What we have now is not TF2. It's a failed experiment, the competitive experiment. And what we used to have is now a burning memory. And the only remedy is to get back what Valve took from us.